Hello and welcome to Building the Premier Accounting Firm. I'm your host, Roger Knecht, president of Universal Accounting Center, and it's here each and every week. We dive into various things that you can be focused on as you work to build the premier accounting firm in your area, offering quality accounting services and getting paid what you're worth. It's here that I have the pleasure of actually interviewing a number of experts within the accounting world and see what it is that they have as advice for us to actually implement in our business, things that we can use to build that premier accounting firm. And I'm excited to share with you Mary Delaney. She is the CEO of Carbon, the global leader of AI-powered accounting practice management software. She helps accounting firms modernize operations through technology and build high-performing, people-first cultures. She's a visionary, customer service-based executive with 20 plus years in global B2B software. Mary has also scaled businesses, led major acquisitions and integrations, and driven international expansions through deep end-to-end business acumen. So, Mary, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Roger. So happy to be here.
My pleasure. This is going to be a lot of fun because one of the things that I think is fascinating is there are a lot of individuals involved in the accounting space or the profession, each trying in their own right to actually help us as a profession better service our clients. And I believe Carbon does exactly that. Why don't you just share with my listeners very quickly what Carbon is?
Sure, absolutely. Carbon, we're 11 years in business, and we provide software and thought leadership for accountants, bookkeepers, folks that specialize in tax. We do everything from help them manage their clients, their work, their team, provide them the analytics to have the most efficient, high-performing firm, and also cash management as well. Most recently with AI, we not only help them manage the work, but we help them do the work, which is very exciting.
Yeah. Now, this is perhaps no shock to you, but many of the individuals I know that are owners of firms do use your service. And so that's one of the things that I'm quite excited to be talking about. But here's where I'd like to go with our conversation. There's so much to discuss, and I'd like to focus on AI. And to begin this conversation, one of the things that I think is helpful, and I'd love your opinion on this, is many people are intimidated by AI, believing that they have to become prompt writers. They're going to have to go back and kind of learn how to become more or less this technological guru of how to integrate with AI. But in reality, what it is it's platforms like yours that are doing the heavy lifting for us. And really, we're already paying for platforms that have integrated the AI interface so that we can use that technology in those things that we're already familiar with. And I'm just kind of curious, what would you say to the accounting professional who does feel a little intimidated by this new technology, this new ability, but yet now Carbon and other platforms are putting it at our fingertips? What would you say about that?
First of all, that's very normal. I think most feel that way. Even if they're not saying it, they feel that way. And that's what our study showed. Our study showed that while over three-quarters of accountants, bookkeepers, tax individuals are intrigued and interested, only 37% of them have had any kind of training or support in learning it. And so my first call to action for everyone is look at your partners. Who do you work with that provide you software today? Make sure you're meeting with them more frequently than ever, and you understand what they have today, where you rank in that usage, and how you can start leveraging the power of AI within the software you already have.
I think that is excellent advice, especially the fact that we're already paying for these platforms and these partners are such an integral part of the services that we're offering. Why not learn what new tools they're adding to the interfaces that we can better utilize and get trained on them, utilize them, put them to use? So that's excellent advice. The thing I'd like to kind of now dive into is I know that you speak of AI not just being a technological shift, but rather a cultural one. And I want to kind of focus on why you draw attention to the fact that AI is a cultural shift.
I see that both in our customers, firms, and also in our own. AI doesn't just change the tools or technology in the firm, it changes habits, expectations, roles, and the defined outcomes of the people that are using it. So, and when I say that, it means everything from we looked at every job and career path and redefine the jobs for our annual business review. There's now a component on AI. for our customers, we're sitting chairside with them, we're meeting and watching them work and really understanding the heroic things that they do that we could help elevate, or the kind of tedious, laborious, low energy or energy draining things that they do, that if that was automated, they could really do what only they do, which is more advisory and driving more forward thinking value for their clients.
Yeah, one of the things that I liked about the term technological versus cultural is seeing AI more than just as a tool. It's actually seeing it as an integral part of your day-to-day operations. It's something that you lean on, something that you're actually interacting with. And I believe if you actually see it as that, you'll see it as this expert that you have access to utilizing within your firm that can complement what you're already doing. And so as a tool, it's not just something that's inanimate sitting there and it has to be picked up and leveraged. Literally, it's interacting with you and us with it. And that's all of a sudden now part of the culture because we're all within the team utilizing this. And I think if we could actually get everyone in the organization excited to see this as something that they can use to make their jobs easier, make themselves more effective and useful, then they're going to be more likely to embrace the AI interfaces that they have access to. Is there anything more you'd like to add to that?
To do that, I think it's really important to invest in training for the team,
Yeah.
to lead from the front. We have to show that we're not intimidated by it, and as a partner that you're using it. We have to share stories, and we have to share when we tried AI and it worked, and also when we tried AI and it didn't. Because I think it's important to iterate and move fast. You have to learn from failure as much as success.
Yes.
The other is, I think it's important to have a policy written up. We did a study and we found that the majority of the people that weren't using it were either, intimidated by it, or they were afraid to make a mistake. They didn't know where the fence was, so they didn't know how far they could run before they stepped out of bounds. And a policy helps with that.
Being a leader within my own organization, I'm going to share some things that I've done. And I think this is akin to the training comment that you just mentioned. In order to show our team that they are encouraged to use this and we want them to leverage this AI, whatever tool or interface it may be found in, is we have to now actually encourage them. And so I found myself saying, hey, did you use AI for that? Or, hey, try it this way and let's see what comes out of it. Trying to proactively encourage them to utilize it. But from a training point of view, there are a number of things that I just think are not intuitive yet. It's not second nature. We don't naturally go straight to AI. At least I found that I didn't. Now, after having used it as many times as I do find it's now a natural part of the workflow. And it's only because of the training that I put myself through and the others on my team. So is there anything that you would say as advice from a leadership point of view that is helpful to actually say how to integrate AI so your people feel like it's encouraged and wanted by you?
Absolutely. One, I think if people don't have some kind of thought leadership group in the company, I think that's really important. And the leader has to chair it. I chair ours, and many of our customers do the same today. You have to have a place where people are sharing all the successes. And it starts with just basic successes personally, professionally, but then you start to push to share them with the outcome. What happened? So that people know how to use it. And then share your GPT or share the exact, I'm calling it a recipe book. You know,
Okay.
when you want to cook and you don't know how to cook and you feel intimidated, it's nice to see the picture of the end result. And then it's nice to see the exact recipe. And I think if you can share more of what your GPT was and what the outcome was, people feel more comfortable. The other thing is get on calls, volunteer, but have different themes and say, we're going to build this together. Because I think the first time that you actually build your own GPT, you realize it's not that hard to do. And there's so much more power behind what you can do with the different tool sets out there.
I think this is an excellent time to actually transition into the actual application of AI. And I'm going to start with an illustration of this. This was literally just a few days ago. I was working with a firm owner, and they've got a sizable business, large staff and everything. And they're just wondering how to incorporate AI into the CFO and advisory work that they're doing as they review financials and so forth. And I've been working with her for actually a few months as she's explained that she wants to consider different tools out there to do this. And she just was, I think, not understanding what that first step would be. And so I just basically in the conversation said, well, let's just pull up ChatGPT and start. And I just put in the prompts. You're an accounting professional. You're working with clients and analyzing financial reports. And I set up the thing and I just shared with her, here's the communication that you're doing as you try to define who that individual is, that agent is. And then you start giving it prompts as to what you're hoping to glean from the information, what insights that you would like it to find. All of a sudden, then I was able to show, here's how it goes. In literally 5 minutes, she was able to get over this hurdle that was intimidating her for perhaps as many as 2 months, only because she knew she wanted to use it. She felt like it's something that would really bring some leverage to her relationships with her clients and help her be more effective with them. But she just couldn't take that first step. And so showing how that could actually be done was so helpful. Now we're talking about training. Obviously, one of the things that I think is helpful is how we go about doing that training. And you've just gave some great examples. So I want to take it to the next level and say, so where is AI going to actually impact accounting? Where are we going to see it practically used?
Well, I think it's already impacting accounting in certain areas, and we started with kind of the simple areas across the board. People are drafting emails, they're getting
Mm-hmm.
their summaries from their conversations with their customers, they're doing
Yes.
first pass analyses on on reporting. But I think where it's going is first of all agentic and
Mm-hmm.
doing the work that accountants and bookkeepers don't have to do. So, the automating month end close or period close, a lot of the reconciliation work, automating advisory reports. Advisory for so long has been more of an art than a science,
Yeah.
and it will always be an art.
Yes.
But if you can put science into it, it will allow you to scale much more rapidly. And so that was really our decision to acquire Aider,
Yes.
brought us to an automating of month end and building out those advisory reports that really empower our customers to give their clients insights so much more quickly and free up time to do what only they can do, which is advise on the future and build those deep relationships.
I'm glad you brought up Ader, and I'm going to go to that in a moment, but I want to kind of step back to some of the things that you were just sharing, because I think in the years that I've been involved with accounting, I can attest to what this evolution has been and perhaps will be more like as you're describing it. Because if you go back a number of decades, it wasn't uncommon for us to actually still have people who were recording transactions and ledgers and journals, and they were actually, in order to create month-end financials, taking days to actually compile the data to generate that report, which today we take for granted. We literally put in a date range, run the report, and within a second, the report appears, and it takes longer to literally print the report than it was to generate the report. And I find that fascinating. So all of a sudden, what's going on is more and more we're finding that our profession is moving away from the historical documentation, the recording of the transactions, into what you just described, the art of actually looking into the crystal ball and seeing into the future. How well do we know our business that we can actually do projections as it relates to cash flow? How well do we know our business that we can look into the forward or look into the future and see what needs the business may be experiencing in the coming month, quarter, or year? And all of a sudden, what we're doing as a profession is we have moved from historical analysis to now real time. We can provide a business owner today what that financial picture looks like for them now. I mean, we have access to their receivables, their bank account, all these types of things. But now it's becoming more forward thinking. So we're moving out of that bookkeeping, accounting role more into that accounting CFO advisory role. How do you find that AI is going to assist us in that capacity?
I think there's a few areas. One, freeing up to have the time to do that.
Yes.
Two, the speed of getting answers. When you think about why small businesses fail, uh, Majority of the time, it's because they were undercapitalized.
Hmm.
And if they understood faster that they needed to change behaviors to have a longer runway to ensure their business succeeds, that's a game changer. And AI helps our customers, or helps the industry, it helps the profession just move at a much more rapid pace to get insight into the hands of their customer. I think the other area is it will do much of that tedious work. It will also onboard new hires much more quickly because they'll have a partner in their ear, a virtual
Hmm.
partner there to help guide and give them insight so that they learn much more quickly and they can get in front of clients much more rapidly as well.
Oh, I love that. Thank you for pointing that out because I do hope that the AI will be able to help us with the onboarding process and streamline that so that we can actually bring them on not only more quickly, but at the same time, more seamlessly in the sense that it's an easier experience for that client. So I appreciate you mentioning that. The other thing that I'd like to kind of dive down a little bit into here is this advisory role because for decades, I've been talking to accounting professionals and helping them see that in order to offer more value, things that were said at conferences for years now, be more value oriented in the services that you're providing. But how? And it's that move towards the CFO advisory services. But this is something that oftentimes the bookkeepers, accountants just freely offer, and they don't have structured plans or programs to literally financially charge the clients for this type of a package. So I want to ask, what advice would you have for that accounting professional who is hearing again that they need to be offering more value, they need to be more forward thinking with their clients, they need to be more engaged with their clients, perhaps in that CFO advisory capacity, and yet they're still reluctant to do so? What advice would you have for them to embrace these tools and these partners to do that change?
I think a few things are available to them. First of all, there's a community. This is the most beautiful community I've ever been a part of.
Yeah.
Is in the accounting bookkeeper community, people believe that all boats rise together, that there's a
Hmm.
reason to help others. There's no secret sauce that they don't want to share. And so, because of that, I'm at many, many events. Everything we do is driven by what our customers need. And so there are events in every town now. We have online events. We do a newsletter where we send out thought leadership on a weekly basis. All of that's focused on how do you advance and scale and move to advisory in this next gen of this profession. And so I would read, I would connect at a community level, I'd look online. I think thinking about value-based pricing
Hmm.
is something to consider. There's lots of thought leadership. We've done a lot of research there and helped our customers journey on, move on that path to value-based. I think there's also data in systems like ours that helps you summarize and see the communication and the value you've driven over the year. It also helps you see the realization you've had with each client versus the price that you've charged them, the write-offs, etc., to be able to assess and communicate to each client. Here's where the pricing needs to be, and here's the value I'm delivering you. And I see we had 7 conversations this year that's really out of scope in these areas, and I have a solution for that. Um,
Please.
that here's how you would package it up and provide that to your client. So I think one, it's moving to value based. Two,
Okay.
really looking at the data and insight to share with your client what you do deliver for them. Um, those would be a couple. And then 3, leverage your community and your partners and all the thought leadership they have to go on that journey.
I really appreciate the fact that you've brought up a few times community. This is a wonderful profession. There's a lot of support, and clearly, if you're not as a practicing accounting professional involved in some community, you're lacking the opportunity to actually interact with peers and be inspired by them, and more importantly, help others as well. So I think that's something that is really important to point out. Now, as the CEO of Carbon, I'd like to take a moment and kind of get into a few specifics, partly how you feel Carbon can actually assist accounting firm owners in doing this value-based offering and help them actually become more effective with their clients. But then at the same time, I'm curious how that might tie to your vision as it relates to Carbon as you're working with the accounting profession, how you feel you're going to be able to in the coming years actually be part of that positive influence towards them being able to offer quality accounting services.
Absolutely. I'm going to give you a quick story on
Please.
one of the first conversations I had to see the true impact that our accounting bookkeeping heroes have on the small businesses, and it's with one of my neighbors who I had seen work his small business for years, and in his kind of late 40s, I saw him put in extra time, and we talked, and he said, "Oh, I'm making a shift." And I didn't exactly understand it until about 8 years later. We had moved, we got back together. He didn't know I was in this space. And I asked him about that shift he did, late in his 40s or early 50s. And he said, "You know what? I started to build my own furniture to be able, my molds to be able to sell towards to prisons and to mental health facilities. And before that, he was a manufacturer's rep." And I said, "Wow, that's a big shift to do after
Yeah.
a few decades. What drove that?" He said, "It was my accountant. My accountant sat me down and said, 'Joe, if you want to have a legacy, if you want to have something to give to your boys, to have them experience and work with you, if you want something to continue after you retire, you got to change. Because right now, you are selling other people's goods. And now there are, a few thousand facilities around the country with this beautiful furnishings that people on the worst day of their life are greeted with and welcomed into a room that feels a bit more like home than a correctional facility. And that is because the accountant sat down and helped him realize he had to change the future. And so with our customers, I've been asking that question: what's your Joe story? What impact are you making? And I've heard all these great stories. I've heard stories about someone looking at this poor guy. My father always said, no matter how much you make, you always have a little too little. And in businesses, that happens a lot too, especially small businesses. And he was in construction and always just making ends meet, and sometimes kind of having borrowed to have the cash to pay off his responsibilities. And the accountant looked down and said, "Hey, you need to hire a driver. I was looking at the last 30 days, the amount of time you drive around and purchase items, you could be building and building." And now it's a multi-million dollar business from those few words: you need to hire a driver.
Hmm.
Someone else talked about a woman with a marriage that broke up, and she took on the business that they had. And it was her first time leading a business and trying to navigate her new norm and raising the kids and running this business. And at the end of the year, she not only made it, but she actually really showed incredible improvement in certain areas. And the bookkeeper sat down and just said, "I just want to tell you, I'm so proud of you. You really made an impact, and I can see where this trajectory is going." And she wept. She said, "No one's told me yet that I was doing a good job. I just needed to hear that." Because to me, the accountant, the bookkeeper, the advisor, there's so much more to that relationship. You're sometimes the confidant, and definitely someone who builds them up or has those tough conversations. And I think to be able to have people excited to do more of that and understand the real impact they can make with more time and attention there motivates you to dig deeper on the tools like Aider or us or other tools out there to enable you to do that.
I really appreciate the fact that you've been able to share this, Joe, or other stories. I think accounting professionals, so often we need to be reminded that this is truly a relationship business. It is so important to remind ourselves that so often with the clients we work with, we become privy to, aware of such private things as not only the business finances, but their personal situations. And all of a sudden, what's happening is we're that one confidant that they have that can have these types of conversations that you're sharing that are life changing. And I love the fact that you shared how these are proactive conversations in many ways. It's the accountant who knows this, but chooses to share it with the business owner, speaks up. And I think that's one of the things that's needing to be encouraged in the accounting profession is we do have a voice and we should use that voice. We have such a unique perspective as it relates to business as we see it through the language of accounting, that I think what we have to offer in the business conversation is unique to the perspective we bring. So we need to definitely share that more. And the last thing I'd say is one of the things that I think is so valuable about the stories you shared is as you did so, I was reminded of personal conversations I've had with so many of my clients, wherein they too have just basically had that moment where they get to pause and reflect and make a pivot. And all of a sudden, it just changes their life, whether it be changing the business model and how it's impacted them in the future or something regarding cash flow. I mean, there's just story upon story. So thank you for bringing that personal component to what it is we're discussing today. So I'm going to use that as a springboard to a question about success and thriving. You're a successful CEO running a wonderful company, Carbon. You're working with business owners as well. What is it that you feel is needed as a mindset that really could cause someone to shift and thrive, not only as an accounting professional, but as a business owner running their own accounting business?
Absolutely. That's a great question. One, I do think it's focus. You have
Hmm.
to have a strategy, and you have to decide what not to do as much as what to do. And
Yeah.
that's taking the time to reflect on what's the unique value I bring and who will value that the most and how do I go help make a bigger impact there. I will say, our customers we've studied in our practice excellence study, we were able to see who are our customers and who aren't, and also be able to separate the ones that are winning bigger, growing faster than others. And one of the key factors is it's not as much about new customers,
Hmm.
it's about growing your current clients.
Okay.
And so it's part of growing your current clients. I believe advisory is the key there because the more you can take in, uh, accountants and bookkeepers have the ability to see pattern recognition because part of it, they're not in the business. They're looking, on the business and able to see that pattern recognition and then understand what else they can do to help this client thrive. So one is understand your value, understand who you should focus on, make sure you're valuing your solution your services at the right price. So our strongest customers are ones that are growing at 25+% more than others. Every year are looking at the value, they're adding services
Hmm.
and they're raising price if they should raise the price. So it's all about understanding your value. It was incredible at a lunch I was at with 12 of our customers. We do a lot of roundtables, and there was in the exact same market for the exact same type of customer, there was a 3x price. So let's say it was 15,000 to 5,000 on the exact same service. It
Wow.
was just the difference of, I believe, someone not truly understanding what they're worth.
That is so well said. I work with a number of firms, and the range as to CFO advisory pricing, what they're actually valuing that service as. I've seen the average, it's around 2,500 a month, but I've seen it range from about 1,000, 1,500 on the low end up to $10,000. One of the firms that I was familiar with was niching into law firms, and in working with them was able to offer CFO and advisory services for $10,000 a month. So it's very similar services, but depending on whether or not they're focused or niched or offering certain values, they can range from as low as that 1,000, 1,500 up to that 10,000, with the average being 2,500. And it just is a testament to what you just said right there. At a table, I've seen that very extreme. So that's very important to kind of recognize about our self-worth.
Absolutely. The other area I'd say is we're in a people business,
Hmm.
right? And AI is not going to change that.
No.
It's always going to be a people business. And I frankly think AI and technology will enable us to make it even more of a people business. So we're empowering our people to be more in front of the client and add more value to each and every client. And I know in my business, I'm really focused on where are our strategic goals, and let's stay focused on that. What that needs to be driven from our customers. And then three, recognizing and understanding that that value we bring is from people. And
Hmm.
how do I unlock the value of my people and ensure that every day that they're making a choice to be here and to be engaged and go all in, and that I've provided the atmosphere and the tooling and the training and support to have them come with a full tank of gas every single day.
I love that. One of the things you just shared is something that I think we need to really reiterate, and I'm going to emphasize it this way. As it relates to the future of accounting, there's been a lot of talk about this shortage of accounting professionals coming into the profession and the need for accounting firms to do more with their clients, meaning there's going to be more demand or businesses needing accounting services and fewer of us in the profession to provide those services. And for some, that's a wonderful opportunity, something that they can really take advantage of. But for others, it becomes daunting. You only have so much bandwidth, so many clients you can work with. But you just said it. The AI, the technology, these partners, they're going to enable us to actually automate so many of these transactional things that are being done so that we can actually be more client facing. We can take on more clients because we can automate so much of the work that's going on that we've traditionally had to manually do. And that lift our ability to now be more forward facing, having more time to interact with the clients, is another reality of this being a relationship business. We're going to find more and more of our time being client engaged rather than recording transactions and doing the actual accounting. I think there's going to be a flip there as to our daily activities and our daily routines. We're going to be more engaged with our customers than I think we are today. Would you agree with that?
1000%. And I think we're going to be able to do it in the balance of a normal work week.
Yes.
Well, accounting's not going to be all about heroics and doing 6 days a week, certain times of the year, and 14-hour days. It's going to be about delivering high value consistently throughout the year in a way that you can still do that and have a life.
I was going to ask what you thought was on the horizon in the near future as it relates to the accounting profession, any changes and so forth. And I think we're answering that right now. Is there anything more you'd add?
I do think it's going to become a cool job again. And you're seeing some of the states break down the barriers of the 5 years,
Yeah.
et cetera. But I think they're going to see the kids right out of school that it's not something where I don't get to talk to clients for 3 years. I have to do all of this kind of analytics behind the scenes, a lot of the tedious. I think it's going to be where in 6 months they're driving value directly for clients and making meaningful impact. And those graduating from college are looking for that. This is a great place to be able to do that. The other thing I'm excited about is when you look at different research, everyone clearly says 8 out of 10 small businesses fail by year 10. That's the data. There's mixed messages about what percent of those small businesses are unserved or
Mhm.
underserved in accounting and bookkeeping.
Yeah.
But I think you could say it's the majority, it's 50+%. And if that's the case, if we can increase our ability to serve in a small, medium, large way, so to speak, silver, gold, platinum types of packages, so that everyone has the opportunity to have a professional help them see quite clearly on what they need in capital, what are the resources they can take advantage of to ensure they're able to succeed in their vision and dream. Think about the difference if 8 out of 10 became 8 out of 10 winning
Yeah.
versus failing. How does that change the economy, education, the world? Because we are powered by small businesses. And
Correct.
to me, the accounting and bookkeeping profession is really the power behind small businesses.
I love that. We are so impactful, instrumental in the success of business if only the business owners would tap into and utilize our services. And so our ability to simplify what we provide and offer, both how they pay for it, how they experience it, would only enable us to work with more of those business owners. And like you, I think it's true. If we can just get involved with more of them, we could enable more of them to be a success. And I think that's very, very important. So thank you for sharing that. The last thing I want to ask, Mary, is something regarding you. What are you grateful for?
I'm grateful I came into this profession later in my life. As I
Mhm.
shared, it's the most generous, caring profession I've ever met. And there are also a bunch of entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurs are, just really interesting people. I've talked to some of our female owners who started the business when they were on maternity leave and have built a business where one of them, manages about 500 churches around the world and really help all of them thrive. It's just really interesting to hear their stories and what they do and their passion for helping these small businesses. So I'm super grateful for my customers in this profession. I'm also grateful for the team. I really hit the jackpot when I joined Carbon. There are three founders, two are still within the business. I'm also grateful to Stu, who selected me to come join and recommended me to take over. It's really a privilege to have a founder want to hand their fourth child over to you, so to speak.
Yep.
And I'm grateful for the team and the culture. It's a really special culture, and we are really committed to helping accounting firms thrive throughout the world. And we're making that happen as we speak.
That is beautiful. Well, thank you for that. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start wrapping things up. I'm going to basically point out a few things, wrap it up with a summary, and then come back to you for a closing thought. As I begin, one of the things that I'd like to point out to my listeners is the offers that Carbon has for us today. Mary's been very kind to provide two things that I'm really excited for you to take advantage of. One happens to be the opportunity to download the State of AI in Accounting report. It's where they're going to actually show and explore how AI is transforming accounting firms and where the biggest opportunities lie. So I want you to go to the episode description and there find the link to that specific report. And it's an excellent report to look through. The second is a similar report. It is a practice excellent report for accounting firms for a roadmap that guides accounting firms on their journey to practice excellence. And I cannot emphasize that enough. This is the perfect time for you to actually work on your business and figure out what it is you can be doing to actually take your company to that next level, just as we emphasize here on the show of becoming the premier accounting firm. So go to the episode description and take advantage of the State of the AI in Accounting report, as well as the Practice Excellent report for accounting firms. That being said, I also want to invite you to take advantage of the Accountrepreneurs Challenge. Here at Universal Accounting Center, one of the things that we do as part of our annual give back programs is provide some free resources to you as accounting professionals to help you find your excellence service and do the better or do the best that you can to service your clients with confidence and competence. And in order to achieve that, one of the things that I'd like to encourage you to do is a 90-day challenge. The Accountrepreneurs Challenge is intended to help you focus on things that affect you personally and professionally so that you can, in fact, work on your business, offering quality accounting services, and yes, ultimately getting paid what you're worth. So go to the episode description and there find the information related to the Accountrepreneurs Challenge. And that's where you'll actually find the information you need to focus on these next 90 days to build the habits that you need to, both personally and professionally, for your clients. Now, as a recap of our conversation, this was wonderful. I enjoyed where we first began, Mary and I discussing AI and her insights as to how AI isn't just something that is technological, it's cultural, and how, from a training point of view, we as leaders need to be embracing of that technology and encouraging our staff to actually utilize it. And I think it's very important to understand that from a cultural point of view, it's not just a tool to be used within the firm. It is something that needs to become part of our culture. And I liked how we had that discussion as to it's something that we can lean on, utilize, and hopefully use to empower us as we better service our clients and work more efficiently with the services that we're offering. The other thing that I really liked is when we were speaking, she spoke of bringing value to the clients. And there was this conversation about transitioning from that historical work, moving more towards that CFO advisory service where we're actually more engaged with the clients, building those relationships, becoming more interactive with them, and offering our perspectives as accounting professionals to them so that they can better run their businesses. And I think that's an excellent perspective for us as business owners. The other thing that I thought Mary was very helpful in pointing out is that this is still a relationship business, and realizing that we are having those impacts. Her Joe story and the others indicate that obviously if we speak up, become proactive, actually engage with our clients, there's so much great perspective that not only we can bring, but actually cause to actually impact their lives in very positive ways. And so I think if we just step back a little bit and get away from the numbers, we all of a sudden realize as accounting professionals, we do make a difference. We do have impacts. And honestly, we are building wonderful relationships. There's one report that I really enjoyed years ago learning, which is the average life expectancy of a client with a firm happens to be 7 years. To understand that you're going to work with a firm, or with a client rather, for 7+ years is very exciting. It's the fact that you have every reason to get involved with their business, them as individuals, and seeing what you can do to build that relationship. So just that context alone, I think, was helpful. And then the last thing was her insights as it relates to the future of AI. I think the biggest thing there that stood out to me is the fact that this is a technology, a tool that we're going to be able to use to automate processes, enhance our abilities to service our clients, giving us the time to actually have to work with more clients. And I think that's very, very important. So lots of insights there. Mary, what would you like to leave with as a closing thought?
Oh, thank you, Roger, for all those insights as well. I would say now more than ever in this rapidly changing time, we need to treat change as a skill, not as an event. We need to not look for perfectionism, but we need to look for iterative work and work to just use AI and other technology to reward experimentation, reward learnings. They don't have to get it right the first time. I think we have to move from we're an accounting firm to we're an accounting business.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the PE firms have really helped us to see that there's so much efficiency to gain. And with that efficiency comes more time for client impact and more quality of life for your employees. And then we need to move from fear of AI to fluency. And the best way to do that today is to work with your partners and also to be curious and see, is there a better technology or partner out there? We did a study recently, 1,000 accountants blind study. 53% are looking at whether or not there's a better technology to move to as their platform of choice in 26 and beyond. So I think it's important to ask those questions and challenge your partners to ensure that your visions are aligned on where you see the world, where they see the world, and where they're placing their bets.
I love it. Beautiful. What a wonderful thought to end on. So, with that said, obviously, I'd like to thank Mary for being on the show. But for you, my listeners, if you haven't already subscribed, subscribe to the podcast. We'd love to have you as a frequent listener and guest here to the show. We have a episode that is released every week. So, set your notifications as you subscribe so that you can be notified of those new episodes where I bring on the guests, those individuals that can share with us insights to help you build the premier accounting firm. In addition, I also want to invite you to go to universalaccounting.com. There in the navigation of the site is the podcast section where we've compiled highlights. These are playlists of various guests that we've had on the shows based on topic. And this is where you can dive deep into the things that are specific to your current situation, whether it's marketing, selling, tech stacks, training staff, mental health, just a variety of playlists that you can dive into and hear what the experts are having to say about those specific issues that are mattering to you today. And all of a sudden, you're going to be able to get the insights you're needing to actually focus on those things that need your attention now. Now, in addition to that, I also want to invite you to GrowCon. GrowCon is an annual conference for owners of bookkeeping, accounting, and tax businesses. It is a conference where we gather together to hear from the experts, but also to collaborate with our peers, meet new friends, and actually build those relationships that we need with other firm owners. It's here that you actually get inspired. Why? Not only from the stage, but from those other individuals who, like you, have built successful accounting businesses, to hear what it is they're doing and learn from them. As well, you also get to meet myself and my staff, those individuals who are committed to helping you be in business for yourself, but not by yourself with Universal Accounting. So if you haven't already, register now and get your ticket to join us for GrowCon. It is each and every May. In the site navigation at universalaccounting.com, you can find the details as it relates to the event, the wins, the wares, all the things that you need to know, and to also get your ticket. And so I encourage you to do so if you haven't done so, and I look forward to seeing you there. As it relates to Universal Accounting, if you'd like more information regarding the trainings and programs that are offered by Universal as to assisting you to get the skills you need to offer quality accounting services, whether it's training in bookkeeping, accounting, CFO advisory, marketing, selling, and so forth, check out universalaccountingschool.com. It's there that the programs are provided and listed so as to understand what it is that we offer as a post-secondary school for accounting professionals to, in fact, give you the competence to go about doing the work your clients need. And with that, if you'd like more information about this conversation or others, or just like to discuss opportunities as they exist in accounting, feel free to give us a phone call. You can reach us at 801-265-3777. And always remember this: accounting success is universal. Take care, have a great day, and be safe out there. Mary, that was wonderful.
Thank you.
That was a lot of fun. I appreciate that.
I appreciate you. You have a great voice for this as well.
Thank you. I've perfected it over the 50 some odd years. So there you go.
You have. Unlike me, I have the Chicago voice, so I could do the da Bears.
No, you're good. No, this was great. So here's what I would have you do. If you'll remember, I actually put in the chat that text. I'm going to have you record right now that promo piece. This is what we again use before we release the episode on the podcast platform. And so it's just a short little summary of what you felt we covered in our conversation today.
Okay. Hi, this is Mary Delaney. It was a joy to record with Roger an episode of Building the Premier Accounting Firm. We discussed everything from AI to transforming and change management to how to deepen and expand your client relationships and also look and leverage your technology partners. I invite you to listen and join us.